Ron and Fez on a Tuesday night, back from a long weekend. 877-692-1027.
10 o'clock, we will be doing a big-ass simulcast. Right now, Fezzi's got a little...
Spy report.
On the Dudley Moore funeral.
Yeah, Dudley Moore, who, of course, passed away last week. Ronnie, the funeral may be held up now. His ex-wife, Nicole Rothschild, is trying to put a stop to the funeral. She's threatening to halt the ceremony.
What's the big dealio?
Well, apparently one of Dudley Moore's last wishes was reported that his ex-wife, Rothschild, as he calls her, former drug addict, and, of course, mother of his youngest son, he requested that she be banned completely from his funeral. That's always nice when you can stick it to someone from the grave.
Right. Normally, you show up at the person's funeral wearing a red dress, and it's your way of getting even. So if you ever have an uncle or a grandfather you didn't like and they die, you show up in a red dress.
So at this point, she is threatening to halt the ceremony, take legal action if she can, to make sure that she can go to this funeral.
What kind of legal action is there to get somebody you're divorced from into your funeral? You can't have a closed funeral? Who's running the deal for him? Is it his family or a new wife?
I don't know if he has a new wife. It must be his estate.
You know, these
whatever
people,
that means.
Anytime you F up a funeral, you're like a whore in a church. And you just have no respect for the living or the dead. It's already an awkward situation for his... I said situation again. It's already an awkward deal for his family. Now, you have to show up. I have to sit in the front row. He wanted my son to be a pallbearer. You got to be one of those effing ass wipes who just can't get through the day.
This must be awfully embarrassing for you.
It's embarrassing for you, Dudley. You're the one who lives such a life. They're fighting over your body while you're dead.
She's saying that this is all because of her son with Dudley Moore, Nicholas Moore.
Yeah.
Who, she says, needs to be there at his father's funeral. I don't remember Dudley in any of this saying, I want my youngest son banned from the funeral. It's his crazy nutbar mother he doesn't want in there.
How old is the kid?
It just says youngest son, so I have no idea.
Because if the kid's like 5'6", you got to skip it anyway.
Right, the ex-wife is 38. So he can't be that old.
So hot.
She says, if necessary, I will disrupt the funeral.
Disrobe. You should disrobe at the funeral. If necessary, you ought to pull Dudley out of his casket and just start beating his ass with a doorknob.
She says, I know it sounds grotesque, but it's also grotesque that a child should live a life and not be able to see his father. Here's the best thing. I will do everything in my power I can to impound the body.
Wow.
Whoa.
You know what you ought to do? Crawl into the casket and start dry humping them. You don't show them. They can't push you around, honey. Have your kid take a whiz on them.
This is like Kate Smith, the legendary Kate Smith. When she died, there was a big fight over who got her corpse, and she ended up being in a freezer for 2 years.
I think she's still in there, Fezzy.
Really?
They got her in there with the minx. They got her in the freezer with the stolen minx.
I will do my best to impound the body.
All right, here's Joe. Joe, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, I have the legal term for stopping the burial.
What's that?
It's called holtus lentus rotting corpsicus.
All right, so you're doing a little joke there, huh?
Yeah, gesundheit.
Yeah, right. It's real funny.
Nice work.
All right. Angry Fatty says, why don't you just knock the body over like the movie Clerks? I saw a fist fight at a funeral one time with the wife and the chick he was banging. And it was the new wife, my friend. You know, of course, he goes out in a blaze of glory. And so the girlfriend, who everybody in the town knew that he was banging, showed up. The wife gets over. They start slapping and clawing around. I turned to my friend and said, this is all I ever wanted. 2 bitches fighting over me at my funeral.
That is absolutely perfect.
I'd be laying there in my casket with a heart on. I'd be so happy.
We can't get the lid shut.
Right. The Super D is keeping the lid open.
Now, I know with my grandfather's funeral, my uncle, his son, as they're getting ready to close the lid, he slipped something in my grandfather's coat pocket in the box.
Yeah.
The sisters, mother and her sister, can't stand the thought of it. They've got to know what he did. They're trying to get the lid back open to look in his grandpa's pocket to see what went in there.
What was it?
$100 bill.
Nice.
Like you're going to be needing that.
Well, in my family, I've seen everybody. They put a flask in there. They'll give the guy cigarettes. And I don't want to say nothing, but starts to look like a flea market we're lowering.
We knew a friend who buried his mother in a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform with a Willie Stargell bat.
Didn't he just he didn't make her wear the uniform.
I thought she was in the uniform.
I thought he put the uniform in there with her.
Oh.
But,
I know
these
he
people,
put the cap on her.
It's very rare to go to a funeral where somebody doesn't F it up. Somebody always has to be bigger than life, running the deal. Everybody else stops.
You're absolutely right on that one because they can't stand the corpse getting the attention. They don't want to be dead themselves, but they don't want to give up the attention.
You know what you ought to do? She ought to be pulling Dudley Moore around like it was a dead monkey baby. You know how in the monkeys in the zoo they never give up the dead babies?
Right.
She should be swinging back and forth on a tire with Dudley Moore decomposing under her arm.
Just clinging. She thinks that's her baby.
She thinks the baby's it's her live baby. Don't try and stop her.
My sister, she always tries to wear the biggest black hat to a funeral. You've seen her.
Yeah.
Even if she
looks like a float. It looks like a big black float on her head.
Even if she doesn't even know the person that well, she will show up in a short black dress and a big giant hat on.
Right, because you should be the center of attention here, big hat.
She wants to be the bride at every wedding, the corpse at every funeral.
It should all be about you. My aunt died, and, 4 sons. Everybody chipped in for this flower arrangement, right? One of the sons goes off on his own, gets this other huge flower arrangement that looked like a poodle. So...
Why?
My aunt liked poodles.
Oh, okay.
So she comes rolling in. It looks like the Rose Bowl parade with this poodle, right? My dad looks up. We're sitting there in the, everybody's like sobbing or whatever. My dad sees us. He goes, "Holy F, where do the boys see this?" Right? Right. Now I'm a kid. He whispers to me, "Holy F, this whole thing's going to break up." So they roll in this thing. And, he had to go out of his way. We'll all chip in on something. Then you go off and get your own. You're trying to show people up.
Sure. You're diverting from the plan.
I look over. Suit jackets are coming off. Those brothers start dragging them out, popping him in the top of his head at the funeral parlor. You just hear a big whack where you hear somebody getting punched right in the skull. I'm like, what the hell? Are we the big scumbag Irish family of all time? Nobody can behave themselves at a funeral? We got to call the cops now. The cops come to the woman's funeral because her sons can't be controlled. All because one of them gets a giant flower-shaped poodle.
That's sad. My brother Corky at my grandfather's
By the way,
funeral.
let me just point this out.
Yes?
That thing was destroyed by the 3 other brothers.
Oh, nice.
They kicked it till it was dead.
That's the best.
I don't think they've talked for years either. I don't think they're talking anymore. It's done.
I know my brother Corky shoved an old man at my grandfather's funeral.
Well, for what reason?
Grandpa wanted his friends from church to be his pallbearers that he was in the church band with.
Yeah.
Well, Grampy was up there, and so were these other old guys. And as they got him out of the back of the hearse, they almost dropped him. So my brother shoved a old man out of the way and grabbed the side of that casket.
They're heavy as F.
Yeah, to keep Grandpa from doing an Ayatollah Khomeini and getting spilled out in the street.
Nowadays, I noticed, the last couple of funerals I went to, I noticed that the guys from the funeral parlor are grabbing the front and the back, so there's actually 8 guys.
Oh, that's perfect.
Because guys ain't in the shape they were in during the 50s and stuff. There was most of the guys in the country were working construction. Now, you grab 6 guys, chances are 4 of them are going to be pussies that can't even bench their own body weight. And you got them carrying your grandmother, it ain't going to work.
That's the thing. Anything happens to me, our guys better start working out if they got to carry that box.
We're just going to burn you up, and then still we're going to need 8 guys to carry the ashes.
Rude. I don't want to be burned.
Hey, Anthony, you're around the fence. It's cheaper. It's cheaper and it's cleaner.
Now's not the time to pinch pennies. Hi, Anthony.
Listen, my father died in 1996.
Yeah.
Yes?
I was the last one at the casket before they closed it, before we drove him off to the cemetery.
Yeah.
I tossed an alarm clock in, set it for 1 hour.
Are you
Well, we were all
serious?
standing around. Priest is giving his little dissertation, his oration, whatever you want to call it, saying prayers.
Yeah.
You
And
let
they
you-
got the casket on those wood planks above the hole. The alarm goes off.
Why
It's
would
hilarious. I
why-
have a cheap aunt who refuses to wear rubber boots because she's so cheap. She put plastic bags around her shoes. She slipped in the mud, almost fell in the hole. It was great.
Let me ask you this, Anthony. Why would you do that to your father? You didn't like him?
No, my father was a riot. We were all a riot, and I just thought it would be funny to do, and I knew he'd appreciate it wherever he was watching.
Well, and were people laughing or were they freaked out?
I turned to face my mother. My mother and I were hugging, peeing in our pants, laughing. Everybody thought we were sobbing hysterical because something went wrong. It was
All right.
the greatest.
If he's that kind of guy and all, that's very funny.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
You dropped the
Take care, guys.
Yeah, your dad's Rip Taylor. You buried Rip Taylor.
That's kind of, I mean, if that's the kind of guy he was, I couldn't do that to my dad. My dad would get out of that box and kill me.
877-692-1027.
Now, when we're burying my grandfather, my uncle goes over, and I mean, it's at the last moment. Everybody is just, crying and feeling bad. My uncle goes over and he says to the guy, the undertaker, I bought that ring for my father. He goes, I want to be here when you shut this casket so I can make sure you don't go stealing that ring.
Oh, accusing the Undertaker.
Now, of course, my uncle already half in the bag by the time this happens. My grandmother is so mad, she gives him a smack in the back of his head. He would not go away until he was for sure that ring wasn't going to be stolen. That ring, at best, $85, $90.
My family would be accusing each other of trying to steal the ring.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, our grandpa, our pop is an Egyptian mummy. We got to worry about people breaking into the casket because of this beautiful ring you gave him.
877-692-1027.
Hey, Carl, you're on Manifest. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Carl.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
How
buddy.
you doing?
All right.
All right, check it out. I was a bouncer at a funeral. A good friend of mine was killed, and he was having an affair, and there was a child out of wedlock, and his wife was at the funeral, and she asked me, because I was a friend of the family, to make sure that the girlfriend and the child didn't show up. And when they came, I had to go outside and stop them from coming into the funeral parlor.
Oh, jeez.
But, it was like a little out of control for a little while. And during the whole funeral, I was running around. There was 300 people there. And I'm running around making sure that this lady's not trying to get in or nothing. It was kind of wild. But he did everything in a big way,
All right, that's the best, man. That's the best. When you got to keep broads away from you for your own funeral.
My grandmother went after a guy one time. It was a cousin of mine. Her ex-husband showed up to pay respects to a dead relative, even though he was out of the family. Oh, gosh, she went after him on the steps of the funeral home. What do you think you're doing here?
She hated him that much, huh?
Yeah. And it seemed like a nice gesture to come pay respects.
Yeah, but you don't know what the hell he ever did to her. Maybe he used to crap on her. You don't know. You never know what happens in a marriage. My thing is...
She was afraid he'd do it on the corpse.
My thing is, I'm sorry, you divorce somebody in my family, the blood people I stick with. The rest of you, F you. You're married in, now you're out. Now you're not married, you're out. Hey, do we need to take a break before this Murray situation? All right, make sure, when do we do it? You got a time for us? Okay, good. Why even bother? Oh, yeah, so we're going to...
That's enough time?
You
All
sure?
right.
Oh, yeah, because we got to make sure that we take the delay off.
Yeah. The technical term is vamp out.
So we're not sitting there bore-assing people with comments that are 24 seconds old. Hey, Matt, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Matt, what do you got, buddy?
You got to picture this. 5 large Irish brothers, 4 of us are cops. The youngest one just got out of the state pen. He's now an electrician.
He's the
3 of
good
us
one
were
in the
Marines. Our cousin taken from us on the line of duty a little too early. His 2 girlfriends show up, meet the wife. Things got ugly from there. 4 of us ended up fighting each other over something really stupid. I forgot what it was.
Was everybody drunk?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you know the difference between Irish funeral and Irish wedding?
What's that?
One less drunk.
Oh, jeez. That's sad, but it's true. It's sad, but I wish there was some way to disagree with it.
Well, you know, we live go out like you came in.
Yeah.
Confused.
Screaming
and confused.
Screaming and wetting yourself.
I'll tell you, the last thing, though, was we started crying so bad, not because we missed him, but because he would have loved that party.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Yep.
All right, my friend.
I had 2 little cousins. They were at a funeral, little guys. The funeral director had to come to my mother and say, could you please keep the children away from the corpse? They're starting to chip the paint and makeup off of him.
What are they doing?
They kept poking the dead body.
To see if how it felt?
Yes. Curious children.
You know, old ladies always kiss the corpse, too, and that can get everything out of the way.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick, you're on Run the Fizz.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, what's going on, Ron Fez?
Hey, buddy.
What?
Not much. Got a funeral story for y'all.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm sitting over at a funeral. A friend of mine, he had passed a couple days earlier. Somebody else that I knew had passed. Somebody I didn't really care for very much. But, you know, it was back-to-back funerals. So there was a lot of people at the second funeral that were at the first one.
Right, okay, I'm following the story.
You got everybody in there. You got a few people with their fake sobs and tears. And they're sitting there, they're saying, I can't believe this other guy died as well, you know, and just talking about the first guy, I said, I never liked his ass anyway.
That's a smart thing to say at a funeral.
I said, I'm not going to sit here and say nice things about somebody I never cared for in the first place. So they got all, you know, pissy. And so their boyfriends, they started stepping in my direction, and I'm at a friend's funeral at this point, so I told them, you know, just ease off. So I started stepping in their direction a little bit. And it's about to go down in a funeral parlor. Then, you know, we got about half a dozen other guys came over, broke it all up. But these guys were all upset because, you know, I'm an honest guy. I'm not going to sit there and shed tears for somebody I don't care about.
Yeah, well, then maybe you should have been there.
No, the funeral I was at was somebody I cared about.
Oh, okay.
They were talking about the guy whose funeral was 2 days earlier.
All right, so you didn't go to that much funeral, right?
I didn't go to that funeral.
I didn't bother.
You had every right.
You know, they were all upset because they're in there, you know, shedding fake tears.
Yeah.
And wanting, you know, they're like, don't speak ill of the dead. I'm like, I talked to him badly when he was alive.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can do. All right, thanks, my friend.
Take it.
Appreciate the call.
Hawk fact.
Oh, my.
Hawk fact.
Yes, Hawk.
22% of people who die are cremated in New York State.
Only 22%.
Yep.
Interesting Hawk fact. Thank you.
Hawk fact. Hawk fact.
There's not a topic he doesn't know a little something on,
Yeah,
Ronnie.
he knows everything.
877-692-1027.
Hey, Glenn, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hello, Glenn.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead, pal.
Who's this, Ron and Fez?
You got Ron and Fez.
Got it. All right, listen. Father-in-law is an ex-cop. He's also an old-time biker. Big time into the jokes. His mother-in-law, my wife's grandmother, just passed away a couple months ago. They have this machine. It's a fart machine. It's a remote control. The thing is hilarious. My son just picked one up. We play jokes on people all the time when they come over the house. We go over to the funeral, put it at the wake. He puts it in the casket. Now, you have to really know him, but he does it to everybody. He can get it, you know. He puts it in it. As soon as they go to kneel down, pay their last respects, he hits the button. You got to see the expression on these people's faces. They thought maybe she passed a little wind. Now, Grandma always did that, too. But he just blew my mind. I can't believe he did that.
Grandma!
All right, thanks a lot, man. So disgusting.
So classy. Such a dignified way to leave the earth.
Hey, Ryan, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
You know what's the worst time to get a case of the laughs is at a funeral?
Yeah, it happens, though.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're in church in general. But I was with my cousin, you know, everybody's lined up for my grandfather, and we sit up there, we get up there on our knees at the pew, and there he is all dead in the casket. And then we're all quiet, and my cousin says to me, what if his eyes popped open right now? Next thing you know, we're both crying, as quiet as we possibly last.
Now, how old were you?
Maybe 10.
Yeah.
And just cracking up, you and your cousin.
Yeah, well, I guess it's funny if you were there.
Yeah. And if you were 10. But I understand.
If you were the corpse.
Anytime you're not allowed to laugh, you might start laughing. There's nothing you can do about that. Here's Gerald. Gerald, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hello, Gerald.
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead,
How you
pal.
doing? All right. Yeah, it was at my girlfriend's mother's funeral, and I was up all night, trying to console her and stuff like that. So the next day, during the time when we were having the funeral, I started nodding off and falling asleep throughout the whole, session. And little did I know that other people in the place saw me, some of her relatives. The next thing you know, when we got back to her, mother's house and such, she comes up to me, all flustered and stuff and looking at me angry, and she says, listen, people are telling me that you were falling asleep at my mom's funeral. What's the story? I said, I wasn't falling asleep. I was like, just in such awe and stuff like that. I was nodding back and forth. I had my eyes open, but it didn't work out too well because I was getting dirty looks throughout the whole night.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to cover that one.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good way.
That is kind of sad. I mean, you should, when you have to lie about any way that you're acting at all, it's always a sad situation.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not surprised why the relationship broke off, though.
No, because you're
Just let her know your head kept bowing in grief.
I'm surprised you had a chick in
prayer.
the first place.
She's just afraid that you'll do it to her funeral.
Here's Michelle. Michelle, you're on Manifest.
Hey, Michelle, go ahead.
Hey, my mom died in 1985, and I was trying to do everything I could possibly do to keep from crying. And when I went up and touched her, she was so cold and hard that I started singing Solid as a Rock. My mom's friend yelled at me.
How old were you?
I was 10.
And you're singing Ashford and Simpson.
Solid as a rock.
You're awful.
You're horrible.
I was trying to do anything but cry. I didn't
You
want
should
to
tell
cry
this
anymore.
story to a shrink, not to us.
I didn't want to cry anymore. I wanted to laugh. It was a horrible experience.
I feel bad for your mom. Look what she left behind.
You're her legacy.
All right, thanks, Michelle.
Bye.
I'm sorry for your loss. Here's Mike. Mike, you're on Ron and Fez?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, how you doing? I heard the Sweet Melissa moan of the night.
That's a good way.
Unfortunately, you're a week late, Mike.
Yes,
we stopped doing the Sweet Melissa Moan.
Oh, you kidding?
No.
We don't do that anymore.
That's such a trick.
That's a good way.
All right, thanks.
That's a...
I'm sorry, my man. We got to take a break here, Hawk. All right, when we come back, we'll be on Comedy Central doing a big-ass simulcast. If you're at home right now, you can turn on Comedy Central and watch The Sweet Spot with us. If not, just listen to your radio, and you'll be able to hear the show. This should be funny.
Sure. Turn your TV sets down, turn your radios up, and we will watch television with you on a big-ass simulcast.
It's Ron and Fez.